Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Marvel Champions video. Today I picked up the Hulk pack for Marvel Champions. I'm gonna play a game with this. I unfortunately won't be able to film that just because I don't have a good setup to do that. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you a few of the cards. I'm gonna go play a test game against Rhino. I always use Rhino as my kind of like my test villain. I'm just gonna use the default deck. And then gonna come back, let you know what I thought of the deck. But first of all, I just want to show you Hulk and what he can do. It's been a while since I looked at the spoilers for Hulk, so hopefully, I think I remember something about you having to basically use up all the cards in your hand each turn, but not sure if that was the same thing. All right, so let's go ahead and get this open. So just overview what this includes. It's a 140 card deck. It's a 60 card pack, but there's a 40 card deck, 30 new cards that can be added to any other hero deck, and a Nemesis set featuring Abomination. And you see all that right there. It's a little bit of glare on there, but so here's our pack. I'll take this out so it's a little bit clearer to see. Let's see if that actually shows up. Doesn't want to focus very well. But there's our Hulk deck. Here's basically a little rundown on what the Hulk does. I kind of like to play these blinds. I'm probably not gonna think too much about this, but and you have like a nice little Hulk poster, and there's some gameplay tips on how the deck works and like his abilities and that kind of stuff. Just going to go ahead and get this pack opened up. And then after I play a game, I'll come back and let you know how that game went and what I think of the deck. Alright, so we're just going to take a look at this. So here is Bruce Banner. That is the... Let's see if this can actually focus on the card here. Anyway, so it's Bruce Banner. He has 4 recovery. He has a hand size of 5. He has 18 hit points, so that's pretty big right there. He's a genius and a scientist. And experimental research is his action. So as an action, he can draw a card, and then he can choose and discard 1 card from your hand, limit once per round. And then on the back, we have Hulk. So problem with Hulk here that I can see already is 0 thwart. So he has 0 thwart, 3 attack, and 3 defense. He's an Avenger, and he has a Gamma keyword too. And Enraged, it's a forced interrupt. It says when your turn ends, discard your hand. So basically, you have to use your entire hand each round. And anything you don't use just gets discarded, which could result in you getting more encounter cards because once you basically run through your hero deck, you reshuffle it, or reshuffle your discard pile, and then you take an encounter card as well. But 3 attack, base attack. I know there's a lot of cards in this deck that pump his attack to be insane. But and then his hand size on this side is 4. So 5 is Bruce Banner, 4 is the Hulk. So that's a pretty low hand size. But hopefully that means that you'll have basically you'll discard a few cards, play 1 big card, and end your turn. And since he has 0 thwart, I'm assuming basically that with him, your goal is just to beat the villain down before their plot can go off. There may be ways to thwart if he has don't know if he has allies or anything like that that can actually thwart for him. But he's definitely going to be a very aggro character. So I'm going to go get this shuffled up. I'm going to play a game against Rhino. Again, Rhino's always kind of like the base I go against just to test a deck out. And then if I like the deck or want to tweak it, I might go and try it against the other villains. But I always try it against Rhino first because he's kind of like the starter villain. But we'll be right back, and I'm going to let you know what I think of the deck. And we are back after playing the first game against Rhino. We were victorious. Won fairly early, I want to say. So got Rhino from stage to level 2. And then within a turn, maybe 2 turns after he was in stage 2, I was able to defeat him. I think I only had maybe 2 or 3 threat points on the main scheme and 3 threat points on the subplot that Rhino brings in once you get past his first stage. We're going to break down the deck and take a look at the cards here. And then I didn't use every card in the deck, but I'm going to let you know about the cards that I did use and how I utilize them. So here is Bruce Banner. So it's a little bit more clear now. So there's a 4 recovery, and he is again a genius and a scientist. And then experimental research is you can draw a card. You then choose a card from your hand. You discard a card basically. So you can draw a card. If you like it, you can discard a card that you don't want, or if you draw a card that you don't like, you can discard that. But once he's in Hulk form, is when he can starts doing some serious damage. So 0 thwart, 3 attack, 3 defense. Enrage is a force interrupt. When your turn ends, discard your hand. That's kind of tricky with Hulk because you kind of have to plan ahead a little bit when you're going through your turn. Basically, try as best you can to utilize all the cards in your hand, so you're not really having to discard a whole lot. So that's Hulk. And then again, hand size is either 4 or 5, depending on what mode you're in. So 5 with Banner, 4 with Hulk, and 18 hit points. That's huge. When the game was over, Hulk still had 10 hit points, and I hadn't defended or any of that. I basically just took a few attacks and was able to survive those. So there is Banner. Next card here. I only use this card once, but this is Limitless Strength, which is spend this card only in hero form, and it generates 3 resources, or 3/5 resources, I should say. One important thing with this deck is there's cards that will have a bonus if you use physical resources, and there are cards that that will have the thing where you basically only can use those resources. So there's 2 of those in the deck, 2 Limitless Strength. Next up is Unstoppable Force, which I use 1 turn. So it costs 2. It's an event, hero action, Ready Hulk. If you pay for this card using only fist resources, draw 1 card. So I was able to do that as well. Get another card and get another resource and play something else. So basically what I did with Hulk on my first turn was... No, I haven't got to the card yet. Oh, here it is. So Crushing Blow is the next card I used in this very first turn with Hulk. Was 1 resource. You can only spend fist resources to pay for this card. Hero action, attack, deal damage to an enemy equal to your attack. So basically with Hulk, you basically just pay 1 physical resource, do 3 damage. So what I was able to do was... Where's Hulk? Here's Hulk. Was able to attack with Hulk. Then I was able to Crushing Blow for 3 more damage. Was then able to untap Hulk, or Ready Hulk with this, and attack again. So in 1 turn I did 9 damage to Rhino. So again, Crushing Blow is pretty good. Thunderclap I didn't get to use, but Thunderclap, it's cost 3. Hero action, choose up to 3 different enemies, deal 3 damage to each of them. That's a pretty good crowd control card right there. You get 2 of those. I was able to use Hulk Smash. So Hulk Smash is really awesome. So 3 resources. When your hero makes a basic attack, you get plus 10 attack for that attack. If you pay for this card using only fist resources, the attack gains overkill if you do that. So basically, plus 10 attack. If you pay for it only using physical resources, it gains overkill. I think so. It was basically Hulk attacks were basically 13 at that point because you're adding 10 to 3, and when I played it, Rhino had 11 health left. So that's good. That could also work well against Ronin if you're playing solo against Hulk with that new Ronin print and play pack. Here is Suborbital Leap. I didn't get to use this, but Suborbital Leap is a way for Hulk to remove threat because Hulk has no actual way to get rid of threat. So let's see. So Suborbital Leap is 3 resources. It's an event. It's a superpower and a thwart. So hero action, thwart, remove 3 threat from the scheme. 5 threat instead if you pay for this card only using physical resources. Let's see if it can focus on the card there. Doesn't seem to want to focus, but... Yeah, let's see if it'll focus. I think it wants to focus on that. Anyway, so pretty good way to get rid of some threat. So basically, 3 resources removes 3 threat, or 5 if you pay for it only using that particular type of resource. We have the movable object, which I did not use in my 1 game, but it's a 3 cost upgrade. You gain plus 4 hit points, and Hulk gains retaliate 1. So plus 4 health and retaliate. So basically, whenever Hulk gets attacked, he does 1 damage back automatically. Just move these out of the way. So there you go, plus 4 hit points. That's pretty good. So that's a movable object. This next one is Boundless Rage, which I did not get to use. But one cost upgrade, hero form only, Hulk gets plus 1 attack, and after you change form, discard this card. The thing with Hulk is you're probably never going to be changing form unless you happen to get the obligation that forces you to change form. That actually happened to me. I had to flip from Hulk to Banner at one point. So I didn't use this, but if I did, it would have gotten discarded. And lastly, we have Banner's Laboratory. This is an alter ego card here. So it's a location, 2 resources. He gets plus 2 recovery, and is an alter ego resource. Exhaust this laboratory to generate a mental resource. Never had to use it because I think I never really stayed in Banner form for like more than like maybe even like half a turn. So, and then the next ones up here are the ones that can go into any deck. These are not specific to Hulk, but these are some pretty good cards still. So, first up we have Dropkick, which I didn't get to use. But 3 resources, hero action attack, deal 4 damage to an enemy. If you pay for it only using physical resources, stun the enemy and draw a card. And there's 3 of those in the deck. Next up is You'll Pay for That. Got Daredevil on the art there. 1 resource to thwart. After the villain attacks you, remove 1 threat from the scheme for each damage you took from the attack to a maximum of 5. So at some point you might just like be like, hey, there's a lot of threat on that scheme. I'm just going to let the villain attack me, respond with this, and take the damage and remove a bunch of threat. It's a good way to, especially with Hulk, because he can take an attack and not really have to really worry too much about it. There's 3 of those in the deck as well. After that, we have Toe to Toe, which I didn't get to use, but I was considering using it at one point. I had a turn where I could have used it, but I think I ended up doing a different play that ended up being a little bit more beneficial. But Toe to Toe, 1 resource is it's an event, it's an attack. Hero action, attack, choose an enemy. That enemy attacks you, deal 5 damage to the enemy. So you basically force an enemy to attack you, and then basically you get damage on them back on them as well. That can be good for minions that have like guard. Guard. So basically, you hit them with this. They attack you. You hit them back. You get rid of them, and then your other minions, or even if you're playing as Hulk, you can basically then attack the villain as well. And there's 3 copies of that. Next one, which I did get to use, is Martial Prowess. It's 2 resources. It's a skill. It's a skill upgrade. Play under any player's control, max 1 per player. And it's a resource you exhausted to generate a physical resource for an attack event. So that's pretty good. So I was able to get that to get some of my attacks out. Next up is Sentry. I didn't get to play him, but he costs 4 resources, so he's kind of expensive. But he has 2 thwart, 3 attack, with 1 incidental damage each. He has 5 hit points, and as a force response, after he enters the play under your control, deal yourself 1 encounter card. So he's kind of strong, so getting an encounter card kind of balances out his power level here. So you have a 2 and a 3, and with 5 health. Next up, we have She-Hulk, which I did use in my game. So 4 resources, has 2 thwart with 2 incidental damage, 1 attack. She's an Avenger and has Gamma as well as 4 hit points. And her attack has a star next to it, so she gets plus 1 attack for each damage token here. So one turn, Rhino attacked for, I think, a total of 3. I blocked with She-Hulk. She took 3 damage, so she had 1 damage, 1 left. And then on her turn, this is what got Rhino into stage 2. So Rhino just had a few health left. She was able to attack for 4, because she has 1 plus however many damage are on her. So 1 plus 3 to 4 attack. And then I was able to get Rhino down into stage 2. So She-Hulk is pretty good. I was also able to use Brawn. So Brawn costs 3 resources. He's an ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack, with 1 incidental damage each. He's a champion, he has Gamma, he has 5 health. And after he attacks, remove 1 threat from the scheme. So basically, whenever you attack with him, you're able to remove threat. And he's got 5 health, which is pretty good. We have the Power of Aggression. This is in some of the core sets. But it's a cool resource because it's max 2 per player. Double the number of resources this card generates while paying for an aggression card. So this 8 was able to get some red cards out for a little bit less. So I think I was able to use that to help bring She-Hulk's cost down to 2, because this generates 1 resource. Since She-Hulk is a red card, it generated 1 more. And there are 2 copies of that in the deck. Next up is To the Rescue. Two resources. It's a hero action. Thwart, remove two threat from a scheme. So basically, you pay two resources, you remove two threat. Um, Pretty decent in this deck. I didn't have to use it myself, but if you're playing like with Hulk without not being able to thwart, there are events that'll allow him to remove points off of those plots. And there are three of those. And then kind of the standard stuff you kind of get in each of these. You get the Helicarrier, which is action exhausted to choose a player, reduce the cost of the next card that player plays by one this phase. You have an Avengers Mansion, so exhaust it to have a player draw a card. And then we have Strength, Genius, and Energy. And these generate, depending on which one you're doing, Strength generates two physical resources, Genius generates two mental resources, and Energy deals two energy. I think it's energy resources or something like that, or lightning resources basically if you're playing Thor. And into the what is this called? The Nemesis deck, which didn't happen to me. I did get the obligation pulled, but I didn't actually play against Abomination. So Abomination, minion, 2 scheme, 3 attack, 6 health, and as a force response, after Abomination attacks you, discard the top card of your deck. If it's a physical resource, was discarded this way, take 2 damage. So basically, if you attack him unblocked, he's going to be doing, and you that triggers where you have the physical resource on your deck, you're going to be taking 5 damage. And he has 6 health. Alright, next up is his side scheme. So it's Total Destruction. So comes in with 2 threat per player, gives you an additional encounter card, and threat cannot be removed from the scheme while Abomination is in play. So you got to take out Abomination before you can get rid of that. And then finally he has Clash of Titans. So he's got 3 copies of this. It's his Treachery. When it's revealed, the enemy with the highest attack attacks the hero or ally with the highest attack. First player decides on ties. If no attack was made, it gains Surge. And here's the stop card. This basically tells you, hey, every card in front of this is part of the pre-built deck. Anything below this is stuff you can add into your deck. So basically, we have 3 cards for Justice, 3 cards for Leadership, and 3 for Protection, as well as 3 basic cards. So for Justice, we have the Beat Cop. So 3 cost of support. Basically, exhausted to move one threat from a scheme to here. Exhaust and discard Beat Cop to deal 1 damage to a minion for each threat here. So, pretty interesting card. It's basically you're exhausting it to pull threat off of schemes, and then dealing that damage to dealing damage based on the number of threat. I don't know what happens. It doesn't say anything about happening to the threat. So I think if this character gets defeated, the threat goes away too. I would assume. I'm not really sure. And then for leadership, we have Inspiring Presence, 1 cost. It's an event. Play only if your identity has the Avenger trait. As a hero action, you can heal 1 damage from an ally and ready it. Could work really well in leadership decks, especially with Maria Hill, because Maria Hill is pretty good at thwarting. So basically, you can heal damage from, like, Maria Hill can thwart, take incidental damage, remove threat from a scheme, and then you can play Inspiring Presence to heal that damage and ready Maria Hill. So that's a pretty good card. I might include that in my Iron Man deck, because I have a pretty decent Iron Man leadership deck. Next up for protection is the electrostatic armor. So what electrostatic armor is a 1 cost upgrade. Its armor and its tech play under any player's control, max 1 per player. And as a response, after you defend against an attack, deal 1 damage to the attacking character. I guess it's kind of like Retaliate, but it's not quite as good. Because Retaliate, I think you don't have to defend to actually trigger Retaliate. Let's see if this wants to focus. Oh, there we go. So that's the electrostatic suit, or electrostatic armor, I should say. And then finally, we have Resourceful. It's a 1 cost upgrade. And what it is it's a resource, so discard this to generate a wild resource. So basically, you pay 1 for a resource up front, and then later when you actually need it, you can discard this to generate a resource. And there's 3 copies of that. So again, I'm one game down. Beat Rhino, I want to say, pretty easily. Pretty fun deck. Definitely very swingy as far as like being able to do multiple attacks per turn if you could ready Hulk. Um, Getting cards that let you just do additional damage, like the Crushing Blow, which is you just pay that resource with the physical resource. You do whatever your attack value is. You do that attack, and then I was able to in that one turn just ready Hulk and attack again. She-Hulk was good. Hulk Smash was awesome because it did basically did 13 damage with one attack on that. Definitely a very strong deck, and there are a little bit of ways to mitigate threat with cards that'll let you take damage and then remove threat based on the number of damage you took. The suborbital leap, which will remove either 3 or 5 threat depending on if you paid for it using only physical resources. So a pretty fun deck. I think it'd be really interesting to play Hulk with another character that does really well with thwarting, like Black Widow or Iron Man. And then at that point, you would definitely have more health to chew through on the villain. But it felt like he was very strong against Rhino, just being able to have She-Hulk deal 4 damage in one turn, having Hulk deal 9 damage in one turn, and then have just pinging Rhino down until I was able to get that Hulk smash out, which was able to finish the job. So that is the Hulk deck. I think it's a lot of fun. Feels very thematic. I don't know if I got to. Where's the obligation? Did I put that in here? Or did I skip the obligation? I definitely need to show you the obligation because that's one of kind of the more important cards of the set. So basically, what the obligation is, it might be over on my table still because I definitely used it. Oh, here we go. Nope, that's not it. What the obligation does is it forces you to kind of go into your other form. So if you're Hulk, you have to flip to Banner. If you're Banner, you have to flip to Hulk. And then, depending on what form you're in, you have to, I think, Banner, you just have to discard cards. I forget exactly what Hulk does. So it looks like the card might be over on my desk still, but the obligation is kind of interesting because it does force you to flip. A lot of the other obligations in the game allow you to either flip to your alter ego or flip to a different side and then shoot, and then depending on what side you're on, it'll do something. Hulk still does that, but the forcing it does force you to flip, which is very thematic because Hulk is kind of like out of control, and then all of a sudden he'll basically flip it. He'll flip out and become Hulk, and then like he'll once he calms down, he'll flip back into Bruce Banner. But very cool deck. Um, it's out today, and that is again this is for the Hulk deck for Marvel Champions. Thanks again for watching, and take care.